Update. Landlord opened credit cards in my name and stole my identity to fix the house I rent. I now owe $10,000, and he said he's going to file an eviction on me if I tell the police. Original post. I've been renting from a private landlord for the last 18 months at a decent rate, but the house definitely needed repairs. Back in February, several of the repairs were made, which were a long time coming, but I was alright with it finally getting done. My plan is to buy a house in January, unless I get the job I just applied for in a different city, where I'd rent for a year before buying. 2 weeks ago, I received a letter in the mail saying I owed a credit card company nearly $6,000. Since I believed it was fraudulent, I disputed the collection notice in writing, while within the 30 days it said I had. Yesterday, I got a call from a different collection agency looking to collect on a credit card debt of almost $4,000. I told them it wasn't mine, and they provided me with a little bit of information about the account. It looks like the address on it is my landlord's. This morning I was able to get a statement from the credit card company, and it looks like it was open near the end of January, and all of the charges are basically at either Lowe's or fast food places throughout February. I'm working on getting the other statement, but I suspect it'll show the same thing. When I checked my credit, neither one of them ever showed as having a payment on them. Both addresses show as his address. It's obvious to me he opened credit cards in my name, probably using info from my rental application, and charged everything to my name to fix the house that he owns. I called him and explained that he needs to pay off the cards, and that I'm going to file an identity theft report. He admitted he opened the cards in my name, but said that I was benefiting from it, house repairs, so I couldn't file a police report. When I told him I absolutely can, he said he'd just start a 30-day eviction process. I can't have an eviction on my record. I wouldn't be able to get a mortgage for years, and would probably not be able to rent again for at least 3 to 4 years. I feel like I'm stuck at this point. When I tried saying something to him over text, he just didn't respond. It's like he knows not to put anything in writing. When I spoke with a lawyer friend about it, he said the identity theft is a criminal issue, but the eviction is a civil issue, and the landlord could probably go through with it. Edit. Forgot to mention, my roommate is out of town, but I texted him about it yesterday. He said he got a weird credit alert in March, disputed it, and never heard anything else about it. He said he'd look into it when he's back on Monday. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Screw him, call the police anyways, and add his threats to the report. He fooled around, now he gets to find out. His eviction will never go through. The judge will smack the crap out of him. I hope more people learn to not confront the identity thief. A lot of this eviction talk could have been avoided if OP just went to the police, filed the appropriate paperwork with the card companies, and just shrugged if the landlord asked. You can play dumb. For all the landlord might have known, it was the credit card company, and OP may have just said they didn't charge something or have that card. Seriously, these people, family or otherwise, do not need to be told they've been found out. Just let the chips fall. What kind of lawyer is the friend? That's moronic. Yes, an eviction is civil, but it's still a court proceeding that has to be won. No landlord is going to win an eviction because they committed a crime. What would be the basis of the eviction? You can't just give a person an eviction notice because you say so. Just like a lawsuit, people say I'll sue, but truth is, anybody can file, aka try, doesn't mean they will win. There is no basis for a successful eviction. Now, if you're on a month-to-month lease, then either one of you can give the other 30 days notice. But that isn't an eviction. That's the non-renewal of an agreement, not being evicted. Now for the update 7 months later. It's been kind of a wild ride the past few months, but it ended up working out for me. When I made the police report and disputed through the credit agencies, both accounts ended up going away. I haven't heard anything else from the collection agency either. By November, my credit score was up to 780. The landlord did exactly what he threatened to do and filed for an eviction. I was told after a couple of weeks by the police that the county was pressing charges for identity theft, as long as I still wanted to go through with it. Of course I did. I also learned he has another identity theft case against him from pretty much the same time. My eviction hearing came and went. He didn't show up, and I explained the identity theft case. The judge threw out the eviction. I ended up buying a house in January and moved out from that POS landlord's place. The reason I'm updating today is that I got a call from the prosecutor's office. He got arrested on the identity theft charge and had a new court date last month. Between his arrest and the last court date, he got arrested again for jacking off outside of a school. He then got arrested again last week for urinating inside of Walmart, in an aisle, not the bathroom. The person from the prosecutor's office said it looks like he's gone off the deep end, and they are going to push for mental health treatment and a long term of probation if I was all right with it. If he gets into any other trouble on probation, he would probably be sentenced at least to a state mental health facility, if not jail. I said I was fine with that, and they said they'd update me if they needed anything else. If the mental health treatment sticks, I'd say great. But I feel like maybe it's just a ruse to get out of having to take responsibility for what he did. What mental health disorder accounts for jacking off outside of a school? Schizophrenia, most likely. If you get a bad case of that, you're no longer in the same world as anyone else. It takes a special kind of stupid to answer, "I'm going to report you to the police," with, "I'm going to do something in retaliation that compounds my crime even further." One crime at a time, folks. File. Then also tell the police about the blackmail. Keep any and all notes that he may have said, or heck, even record him and tell him that you will tell the police just to get the confession. Risky though. In court, they will lose everything, and it's their own scummy fault. Identity theft is no joke. I am certainly no lawyer, but this is what I would do. Yes, blackmail is a very big deal. Standard identity theft, ending up as psychiatric hold, was not on my bingo card. If he is faking it, I don't think this would work in his favor. It won't. I knew a guy who did it. He fought for 2 years to prove he was sane. That's how bad the conditions were. He would rather go to jail. People have a really weird idea of how getting convicted by way of insanity actually works, like it's some get-out-of-jail-free card, when it very much isn't. Next story. Am I the a-hole for stealing my own stuff when I moved out of my best friend's dad's apartment? I moved out of my parents' house for the first time in February 2020. Yep, just 1 month before the pandemic hit. I was super excited because everything seemed perfect. I was going to live with one of my best friends in a nice neighborhood, in a cute apartment, and the rent was really affordable. The apartment belonged to my friend's dad, and over time, our friendship started to cool off. We talked less and less, and I began to feel a weird power dynamic, like she had the upper hand just because she was the owner of the apartment. We hadn't signed any kind of rental agreement either. After a year, she told me she wanted to move in with her boyfriend, so we had about 3 months to leave the apartment. It was a hard hit, but I accepted it. The thing is, those 3 months kept getting shorter, and suddenly I had less than a month to find a new place to live. On moving day, I took everything I had paid for: my bed, desk, washing machine, appliances, and a pair of blackout curtains that I had installed in my room, which cost me $250 USD. The next day, I got a message from my friend calling me indecent for taking the curtains. She said I wasn't allowed to take them because they were now considered part of the apartment, even though I had bought them. We agreed to meet the next day so I could return the keys. I decided to show up a bit early to avoid any issues. And surprise, the security guard wouldn't let me in. He told me my friend had instructed him not to allow me into the building unless she was present. I was so angry and hurt. Someone I considered a friend was treating me like a thief when all I did was take what was mine. Do you think I overreacted by taking the curtains? Should I have left them? Time has passed, and we've ended up seeing each other again here and there, but she's still really selfish and always finds something to complain about. I don't like conflict, so I try to keep things cordial. But honestly, I'm not interested in being friends anymore. How do you even break up with a friend? Nobody teaches us how to have those uncomfortable conversations with friends. Not the a-hole. And bet she couldn't care less about the curtains. Seems like she is a person who likes to stir up drama and getting emotional response from others. You don't owe such person any conversation or closure. Sometimes it is perfectly fine to ghost people. That is exactly what my parents told me. It was never about the curtains. I mean, it was just a selfish response. Thank you. Not the a-hole. If she wanted to keep the curtains, she should have offered to buy them from you. You said this was your first time living outside of your parents' house, and I know in your position I'd be worried that there was some unspoken social rule I missed, so I'll reassure that you haven't missed anything. What you did was absolutely normal. Everyone should leave with the things that they own, unless some other arrangement is discussed and agreed upon. You don't know how calmed I feel after reading your comment. It was my first time indeed, and I really felt like I was wrong and knew nothing about adulthood. Thanks. I have been a landlord and a tenant. You leave what was there when you arrived and take what you added. If you left stuff, even nice stuff, you could be accused of not cleaning out the place upon your departure. She has no idea what she's talking about. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking him and his entire family out after he brought them to stay over while I was working out of town? I, 42 male, worked for a company for 15 years until I went out on my own and started my own company. I was engaged at the time with 2 kids from a previous marriage. My success created issues because Jim, 45 male, began to lean too heavily on me. He didn't finish college, something that affected my trust because he said he did. Then I found out he was lying. And his skills are fit for his job only, office assistant, while his dream is to become a very successful executive. I tried to help, but he didn't follow advice. We had issues because he wanted to rely on other people instead of making his own efforts. The results were disastrous in one particular situation where his ex-business partner locked him out, moved their small office over the weekend, and shut Jim out of their logins. I was shocked, but the more I asked, the fewer answers I got. I found out later that the partner got fed up with Jim for wanting to direct the partner's talents and knowledge to his own favor, and for taking credit via a social media post. My relationship with his family has always been cold. Father-in-law and mother-in-law are divorced, and father-in-law has always been friendlier, but mother-in-law has always been distant and dry. I accepted it. Nobody is obligated to anything. 2 years ago, I found out that while they hardly talked to me, they meaning mother-in-law, 2 sisters-in-law, and Jim's younger brother, they had a derogatory name they used for me. His phone had a notification, and I saw my name. I got into his phone and found a family chat where they roast people, share other things, and talk about me using my real name and a bad nickname. I confronted him and called his mom out the very next time I saw her. It was a crap show that ruined whatever thin thread of a relationship I had with them. Also, he didn't defend me or stand up for me. I went full no contact with all of them. We had a long crisis, went to therapy, I no longer believe in it, and found stability for over a year with no fights or major disagreements. Fast forward, I rented a beautiful house with an indoor pool, portable not in ground, and a tiny space where I created a home theater. I'm now working mostly out of town for a long-term client, 3-year contract. So I moved my kids with me since my client is near my hometown area. My lease was supposed to end in June. My kids and I spend most of our time at my out-of-town property. I stayed on the lease because I still have 5 or 6 clients nearby and allowed Jim to stay over. I began to notice some things and asked him if he was having someone over, which he denied. Long story short, he broke my trust. I let him stay over, but it was just him, not his family. I showed up on a night when I said I would be out of town and found all of their cars in my driveway. They were all inside like it was their house. I made them leave immediately, and they did. I left that same night, came back a few days later, didn't go in, and they were back. I canceled my lease without telling him, paid a fine. It wasn't my first choice, but it was my best option, and had movers come take everything. I called him while he was at work and told him that his stuff would be on the front lawn. What bothers me is that he didn't take it seriously. First, he tried to turn it around and acted like he didn't do anything wrong because I never said I don't want your family here. Second, his personal property was drenched because of the afternoon rain, and his tablet got wet. His ex-brother-in-law took the kids because sister-in-law doesn't have a place of her own. I ended up blocking him, but I don't feel any empathy. He did ask me to give him at least 1 week. Because his older sister had gotten evicted while we were on the call at the time, I put his stuff outside, and I refused. Why would I? He did everything behind my back, as always. My best friend says it's because I'm numb from so many situations, but that what I did was a bit over the top, considering there were kids involved. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Curious if he had been transparent with you, and if his family had treated you like they were decent human beings, you might have let them stay there. The irony would be delicious. They are merely reaping what they sow. I am a generous, loving person, but when someone takes and uses, there comes a time I snap, and I get cold as heck. I no longer care at all about what happens to them. I am just done. Sounds like that is where you are. I would have been open to help up if his family had been open to at least treating me with respect. I understand that earning the love of a partner's family takes time, but I was willing to be a part of his family. I took their non-replies to my texts and one-syllable responses as a sign. It wasn't ideal, but I could respect that. However, using me as their personal clown behind my back was something else. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my dad's girlfriend walk through the front door that's in my room when she was upset? I, 23 male, live with my dad, his girlfriend, when my dad hasn't kicked her out after one of their spats, and my youngest brother. We've been living together for the past 3 or 4 years. We recently moved into a new house around August of 2023, and my new room is like a mudroom, but we only use it as a bedroom for me. It has the front door, which is fine because my family only really uses the back door, and I can just grab whatever food or packages are delivered and distribute them. Anyway, my dad's girlfriend, let's call her Stacy, 34 female, and my dad always get into arguments when he's drunk. We have a small house, so she has nowhere to go but outside or their closet when they argue. Sometimes my dad is on the back porch drinking with my uncles. And even though they will ignore her when she walks through them to go around the house to sit on the front steps, she would rather go through the front door. Since the front door is in my room, Stacy needs to ask. Because, privacy and all, and because I have to move a bunch of things and leave the door and screen door unlocked and open for her. She always does ask. I normally let her. But a few months ago, when this incident happened, she asked me, and I said no because I just didn't want to have to move all my stuff. I was stressed and wanted to have personal conversations with my friends without worrying she was snooping. She likes to eavesdrop and had stolen my sister's girlfriend's things when my sister and her girlfriend lived with us. Also, I have anxiety about leaving the front door unlocked and open, PTSD things, which was heightened by my stressed state. Anyway, when I said no, she cursed me out and said I was being inconsiderate before storming out of my room and almost slamming the door. My friend said I wasn't an a-hole and that it was my room, so I have the right to say no, and it's just my people-pleasing personality making me feel guilty. Yet Stacy didn't talk to me for almost a month after, and our relationship is still strained. I'm internally torn. So tell me, Reddit, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, it's your room. It's good that she asked, but she has to respect when you say no and shouldn't be chewing you out about it. The fact that she also snoops would be enough of a deterrent on its own. It's changed your relationship, but that's on her. How much do you actually like her? I ask this genuinely because once you move out, if you don't want to have much of a relationship with her, you don't have to. However, in the meantime, it may make things a bit complicated. If it were me though, she'd never use that door again. We used to be close, but after this incident and a different one on my little brother's birthday last year, I want nothing to do with her. Apparently, when I'm away for work, I have to stay overnight sometimes. She's been going into my room to go out the front door even though I don't want anyone going in there when I'm not home, which the rest of my family respects.